Hi everyone, this is Attorney Lilian with Lily Legal. I just want to welcome you all to this week's episode of Immigration Chat with me, Attorney Lilian. I just want to give a quick introduction of who I am, what I do, and what we're going to be talking about today. So, I am a U.S. immigration attorney. I help my clients get status in the U.S. I help my clients come to the U.S. with status and change their status, get a green card, become citizens. That's what I do. And today we will be talking about one of the most common ways people come to the US, which is through a visitor's visa. So how do you even get one? What do you need to show to the officers? And does an invitation get you a visa automatically? Okay, so that's what we'll be talking about today. So welcome if this is your first time. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to Peace TV, who is also streaming this live on their page. So feel free to go ahead and just give some love to Peace TV. I appreciate you all, and I hope you come with your questions. So this is Immigration Chat. I usually have a topic. However, you are free to ask me questions. So this means you can just go to the comment section and write your questions for me. That is the best way for us to facilitate this chat and for me to answer your questions. Your questions can be about the topic that I will be discussing today or any other immigration questions that you have. So as I'm going through the topic, if I see your questions, I will pause and answer your questions. So again, if you are just joining in, today we are going to be talking about getting a visitor's visa to the US. So this is for people that are outside of the US and want to come to the US, people in the US that want to have a family member come to their wedding or just visit them. This is for you. I get this question a lot, almost in every single live that I do. Someone asks me a question about this. So I wanted to dedicate an entire chat on just getting a visitor's visa to the US. So I hope you're ready with your questions, and I hope you get value out of this. If you would like to work with me personally, please feel free to go to my website or to call my office, and I'm happy to help you get that visa. So we are going to get right into this. There are three things that you need to show in order to basically be able to get a visa, a visitor's visa to the US, right? US immigration is looking at three things: your personal situation, your family's situation, and your travel plans, okay? So you have to be perfect in all of these three things in order to get the visa. And people always ask me if getting an invitation will get them a visa to the US. Well, an invitation fits into the travel plans. So we will cover all about that in the travel plans section. So let's talk about your family. We'll start with your family situation because this is where people usually do not consider. This is one of the areas people don't consider at all, or they don't think it applies when they're going to apply for this visa. So the first thing you need to know is that US immigration will be looking at your family. So your immediate relatives. So your brother, sister, mother, father, children, spouse. They're looking at their age, their information, where they live. Do they live with you or do they have their own property? And then they're also going to be looking at whether your family members own property outside of your country, outside of the US, anywhere in the world. Do they own property? It's important if they own property in your country that you include that information because that shows that you have strong family ties to your country. Okay? US immigration is really trying to see if you are if you qualify for the visa, one, and if you will go back to your country after they give you the visa. Okay, that's what all of this is about. They want to know, one, do you qualify, and two, will you go back once you come to the US? And seeing your family situation will help them decide whether you will go back. Okay, so if all your family live, let's say in Nigeria, Liberia, they all live there, they own property, they're very rooted there, you have that's a good thing. Now, if most of your family live outside of your home country, now we're getting into some shaky situations. Okay, so that's the first thing they're going to look at is property, family members. Where do your family members live? If most of them are outside of your country, they're going to take a deeper look into your case to determine if you have other reasons to come back. So if all your family members live in the United States, you need to show other ties to your home country that will make you go back. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing you need to show is your own personal situation. That's what they're really looking at here. So after the family situation, they look at your own personal situation. So what's your living arrangement? Do you live in an apartment? Do you own your own properties? Are you working? Right? Do you own a business? If you own a business, you have employees. So an example I like to give is, let's say, for example, you're a farmer and you want to come to the US for 6 months. The question is going to be, what kind of crops do you grow? Right? If you grow crops that need you to be there and tend to your crops, you can't really explain how you will be away for 6 months without having an employee to look after your farm. Okay, so these are things that they really, really pay attention to. So again, where do you live? What do you do for a living? Right? And then we get into your community involvement. This is stuff that people do not consider or do not even present documentations on. You need to be able to show that you have ties to your community. So if you are involved in the church, if you are involved in any NGOs, any volunteer community-based activities, you can present those evidence. So for example, if you are the head of the youth ministry at your church, that's something you can show to say, hey, I have these ties because I am the head of this youth ministry. And I will be back because I'm the one that has to basically continue this program. So it's really important that if you have any ties at all to your community, that you are documenting it and bringing that to your interview. It's very, very important. Okay. The next thing they look at, like I said, current employment. If you are working, you should be getting a letter from your boss saying that you're an employee. They expect you to be back on this day. You only have a leave for, let's say, a month, and they expect you to be back working. Okay. So if your boss is saying, if you have a job in your home country and you're coming to the US for 6 months, you have to explain how you are going to maintain that employment while you're in the US. And that's something people miss. You say, oh, I have this great job, but are you showing that your job is actually giving you a leave of absence for you to come to the US and then come back, and your job will be there for you? Okay, so these are ways to show ties with your employment. Are you getting paid? Will you be getting paid while you are away? Things like that need to be very, very specific and detailed in the employment letter that you will get from your boss. Now, the next thing that you want to basically have in place is money. Right? If you are coming to the US, you need to be able to show that you'll be able to support yourself, that you have a bank account and show funds in your bank account. Okay, not just that you have the account, but that you actually have money in the account. Now, if you, this is very important, if you put money into your account just so you can print out a statement and take it to your interview, that's going to be an issue. Because what if they ask you for 3 months of bank statements and you don't have that? And they see that you only deposited the money for that specific month. That's going to make it less likely for them to approve your case, because you are basically trying to play the system. So if you, let's say you want to apply for the visa next month, if you do not have the money in your account, do not go and deposit the money and think that that will be enough. Okay, you need to show that you consistently are making money, that you are consistently are getting money into your account, and that you save the money over several months or several years. Okay. So the next thing is, do you have bank accounts outside of the US? Do you have bank accounts in other countries other than the US? Do you own assets? So when I say assets, people go straight to land, or you have a home or a building that you own. No, this can include cars. If you have a specific business that requires very technical tools that you use for your business can also be an asset to you. So I guess I would just stick to the farm example, okay? So if you own a farm and there's several equipment that you use that need specific care, right? You can't just leave it out in the rain during the raining season and it's just going to be fine when you come back. Okay, they need specific care. So those are assets to you that you want to maintain while you are outside of the US, or that you would need to come back so that it doesn't spoil. So those are the things that you really need to pay attention to. And then finally, under the personal situation is, have you ever been to the US before? If you have traveled to the US before, you have a better chance of getting the visa, because that just shows you already went to the US and you came back. Okay, you've done multiple trips and you came right back to your home country. So that tells the US officer that you do not seem to have an intent to stay in the US. Okay, so that's the final thing on the personal situations. If you have traveled to other countries, so let's say you've traveled to the UK multiple times, or you travel for business to Dubai and all these other places, you can produce that as evidence that you like your country, you want to stay in your country, you've been outside of your country, and you still came back. So these are things to keep in mind, to have handy when you are ready to file. Okay, so we have a question. All right, so I came on visiting visa to return back, but unfortunately I did not return because I came and meet my children and they decided to file for me. Also change my status. In this case, I never came to stay, but find myself in this situation. Now I am missing my family. Can I send them invitation to come and visit me? This is a very, this is something that happens all the time. Honestly, it does happen. You feel homesick. The question is, do you have status in the US now? If you have status, you can send an invitation. Like I said, the invitation part is like the last thing on the list of requirements that I usually have for my clients, because you have to meet the personal situation, the family situation, before we even get to your travel plans, which is where the invitation fits in. So the person has to qualify under everything else I've said, but your invitation, can you send them an invitation? Yes, but they still have to independently qualify. Something else to keep in mind, if these are immediate relatives, so if you are going to be inviting your children, just know US immigration will look at the family history. Like I said, family situations, okay? So if you have family in the US that came on a visiting visa and overstayed, that means they came here and never went back. The US immigration, when they look up, let's say you have a brother or sister that overstayed, you have your chances of getting a visa decreases because there is already a situation in your family that a family member did not return. And if that's the situation, US immigration is going to have to really look deeply into your case to see if you meet all of the requirements. So that's why I said before, family situations matter. So if your parents came to the US and they overstayed their visiting visa, the chances of you being able to get it is lower, but you can make up for it by showing strong community ties to your home country. Okay. So if you have a wife, if you have children, if you have property, if you have a business, if you have all those things, those show strong ties. So even if you have a family member that overstayed and they send you an invitation, you can still get the visa if you are able to show the officer that you have such a strong tie that you do not have a reason to stay in the US longer than authorized. Okay, so that's really the important part here. Can you send the invitation? Yes, but the person still has to meet the requirements that's put in place by US immigration. I hope that answers your question. So the final thing that you have to show is your travel plans. Okay, so this is where if you're coming here for a wedding or a family member is inviting you to come here for a visit, this is where this fits in. Okay, so this is where you show your reason for coming to the US, your plane tickets. You should definitely have a round trip ticket. Okay. What I suggest for people, because it usually takes about 3 weeks when the embassies are open and processing these visas, it can take 3 weeks or more for your visa to become available if you are approved. So you should definitely get either travel insurance or get a refundable ticket, because you don't want to be in a situation where it takes longer than 3 weeks for you to get the visa and your travel date is approaching and you're not able to change that date without paying more money. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure you're either getting a refundable ticket or you get a travel insurance for that. You need to be clear on how long your trip is going to be. Okay, so typically you might be able to stay in the US. The officer might let you stay in the US for 6 months at a time. Okay, but if you say that you're coming here for a wedding, this is important. If you're coming here for a wedding and you say the wedding is from this date to this date, but then you're staying for 6 months, but then you want to stay in the US for 6 months, that's going to raise some questions, because if you are only here, let's say, so I'm thinking a Nigerian wedding where there might be like 3 or 4 events going on. Let's say everything is a month, right? If we're stretching it, it's like a month. So you have to explain why your ticket is for 6 months if the wedding might only be for a month. Okay, so that's something you really need to be clear on from the get-go. What you're coming to the US for. If it's a wedding and then you're going to take a vacation, that's fine, but you need to be clear on that. So you can get an invitation for the wedding and then use that as an opportunity to, travel around the US, maybe go to Disneyland. If you are going to say that you're going to Disneyland, please buy a ticket to Disneyland. Okay, have actual reservations for the places you want to visit. Okay, again, you can get a refundable ticket for all those things as well, and travel insurance for those things. But you should definitely have a play-by-play of where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing, and if there are things like going to a specific theme park, you should have documentation showing that you have tickets to those theme parks for when you're going to be in the US. Okay. And then the final thing is you should, if you have an invitation, the person that's inviting you can say that they will be providing where where you're going to be staying, and providing for your meals and all those things. So you might not need as much money in your account in order to make that trip, but you really, 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 they really need to make that clear in their statement. So if you don't have a lot of money saved up, they need to make it clear in their statement, especially if you're planning on staying for 6 months, that they are willing to let you stay in their place for 6 months, provide for you for 6 months, right? And that you will not be working, because that's the main thing. If you're coming here on a visiting visa, you are not allowed to work in the US. Okay, so that's why they want to see your bank accounts. That's why they want to see that you have money, or that you have someone that's going to fund your trip. And if you're staying for 6 months, you need to show 6 months of money saved. Okay, so it's really important to keep that in mind as you're going through the process. Those are the three general umbrellas of things. And just remember, your travel plans have to be specific and realistic. They really pay attention to that. So you really want to make sure that you are paying close attention to it. Okay. So I'm going to take a question. Just a second. Okay. Why you people deny people and don't refund the visa fees? So the U.S. So the U.S. government, when you apply for these visas, they have employees that work, right? That will process your application, that do your interview. So in their basically their explanation is your visa fees goes towards actually having officers available to process your application, having the whole system work, is where your fees are going. So if they decide to refund your fees, their argument is, how do we pay our employees unless the government is going to subsidize the whole system? So that's why they don't refund it. So unfortunately, that's how that works. The fees are there to help process the application. Okay. So if you have any questions, especially if you're just joining us, please feel free to leave them in the comments. It can be questions about visiting the US with a visitor's visa, inviting someone to visit the US, or it can have nothing to do with a visiting visa at all, and you just have a general question about US immigration. Please feel free to put that in the comments and I will respond. If you are watching this in the replay, just know you can also leave your questions and I will come back and respond in the comments to your questions. Okay. So I'm just going to go over what we've discussed so far. So you need to have your family situation, right? Document your family situation, your personal situation, and your travel plans. And I want to make sure that people are clear on certain things, right? When I'm talking about how much money you have, or if you have a job, there's a specific reason, right? There's a specific reason the U.S. government pays attention to this. Okay, they pay attention to this because they want to make sure you will go home. So think about if you are a student, because this is what people always ask me. You're a student, you just graduated, or you're still in school in your home country and you want to visit the US for a trip. The US government has to look at your age, your employment, your family ties, your personal situation to determine if they should give you a visa to the US. So the more ties you have, so let's say your entire family is in Nigeria, your family has loads and loads of money, they have property, they have a job waiting for you once you graduate, you have a better chance of getting a visa to the US versus someone that doesn't have any family still living in their home country, that is just a student, doesn't have any sort of income, doesn't have a job lined up for when they graduate, doesn't really have anything else other than the fact that they are a student. It's going to be harder for that person to show a US officer that they plan on going back. Okay. So I just wanted to say thank you, Snyder. I'm so glad that you find this informative. Please feel free to share it with other people, because I really want to make sure that you all are getting this information, and I will continue to bring you informative topics and basically ways to come to the US and be able to stay. That's really my goal, is coming to the US with status and actually maintaining status. So if you are coming for a visit, that's just what you're coming here for. You come for your visit. Once your visit is over, you go back home and you continue your life. You're able to come back for a visit if you need to in the future. But just know that these are the requirements you have to meet in order to be able to basically come here and stay. Okay, so I hope, let's answer some more questions. Please feel free. Oh, thank you. I will keep doing this. Like I said, this is all I do in my business. This is what I love doing. So I greatly, greatly appreciate you all for joining me. I appreciate you for engaging in this chat, and I hope you found this very helpful and that you share this with other people that might find it helpful as well. And if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to ask me your questions in the comments. If you want to basically work with me to get your immigration situation in place, whether you're coming to the US or you're already in the US and want to adjust your status or apply for citizenship, please feel free to reach out. My information is in the description in all my videos. So I just want to once again thank Peace TV for streaming this live on their page. I greatly appreciate you and your support. And I want to also welcome and thank the Peace TV family that's here. Continue to basically do what you're doing and bring in programming to our community. So I want to thank you all. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you back here next Friday for more chats and more topics on U.S. immigration, how to get here, and how to keep your status. Okay? I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Bye, everyone.